Number 10. Fast food? The Quiet Place franchise. There's an abundance of incongruities when it comes to this series, even though there's an abundance of available food supplies.
I am a meat popsicle.
The Death Angels aren't as ravenous as we might have thought. You would think that they're enjoying easy pickings in these extremely vicious attacks. I guess that the contrary has been confirmed via the Abbott's whiteboard because it's written clearly, why don't they eat their kill? So they're defensively reacting to the noise as a possible threat so they can take it out with shark-like brutality. This franchise's basic premise is flawed, but let me know what you think about these movies in the comments. Number 9. Sorry, I don't speak Norwegian. The Thing, 1982. Sometimes understanding a different language can save your life. This was proven in the opening moments of John Carpenter's The Thing. Lars, an armed Norwegian survivor from a research base, frantically pursues a dog when he and his pilot chase the dog down to the American research base. Lars warns the Americans that the dog is something in disguise and he takes another shot at it, accidentally wounding an American in the leg. At this point, even if they did understand Norwegian, they would have been convinced that the Norwegian was insane. I mean, his entrance cracked off with the helicopter exploding. Alas, all was in vain. Too late now, fellas. You should have learned Norwegian because all hell is about to break loose. But being multilingual would have turned this classic into a short film. Number 8. Flag Details. Event Horizon, 1997. Even with the perils associated with grappling with Dante's Inferno in space, it's recommended not to sweat the small stuff, because everything on the Event Horizon has gotten out of hand. Hell has a way of doing this to a crew, but before the crew's Event Horizon dispatches them into the 9 circles of Hades, kicking and screaming. They discovered the truth behind the madness, but thank God for Easter eggs to lift the mood, even if it's seemingly insignificant as the patches on Dr. Willie Weir's jumpsuit. In the year 2047, Australia eschewed the Union Jack and replaced it with the Aboriginal flag. And oh, how Midnight Oil must have danced in celebration. Not only that, Old Glory gained 5 stars, and the EU flag ballooned to 22 golden stars. But none of this matters because where they're going, they don't need nationalities or eyes.
That's it, man. Game over, man.
Number 7. Satellite of Love. Cloverfield, 2008. The seminal and layered horror science fiction King Kong Rampage love story is crammed with buried treasures. Take, for instance, the found footage of Rob and Beth's romantic backstory, which took place before the unearthly havoc wrought on the Big Apple and intercut throughout the movie. It was during the couple's Ferris wheel ride at Coney Island, fawning over one another. Rob captures an object crashing into the ocean. Was it Clover dropping in? An asteroid? A satellite? Rumor control indicates that it's the Japanese Chimpanzee 3 satellite, owned by Tegrato Corporation. Incidentally, the company's logo was on the oil tanker during the bridge evacuation scene. That can't be coincidental. For all intents and purposes, and for our heroes, it's a foregone conclusion.
If you found this tape, I mean, if you're watching this right now, then you probably know more about it than I do.
Do you think that the satellite woke up Clover on the wrong side of the abyssal plane? And also let me know if you want me to do a deep dive into the Cloverfield universe. Number 6. Alien? Outland. Same universe? Have you seen the 1981 science fiction space western Outland starring Sean Connery? Did you pick up on an alien vibe? You're not alone. The first hint is dropped in Aliens and Outland's opening credit sequence, establishing the industrialization of space, and technical exposition scrolls across the screens. Although there isn't a direct on-screen connection between the two movies, the environmental aesthetic of the Nostromo and the Con M27 mining installation on Jupiter's moon Io are compelling. There are no xenomorphs, but the second most dangerous species, humans, are the threat in Outland. If you pay attention to the overall design of the interiors, the similarities do reveal themselves. The maze of corridors, common areas, and hard sci-fi textures inside and out. Computers and medical bay interfaces share commonalities. The crew's costumes, ranging from jumpsuits to EV suits, look akin. Turning our attention to the EV suits used in Alien and those of the titanium miners, we see the similarities, apart from the ring of lights present in the visors in their helmets. Also, they lost the Cooper hockey gloves in Outland. And hey, isn't that Angus McGuinness? Rosie LaRose from Strange Brew? The daily routine of working in the space mining industry for competing corporations is baked into these respective films. It is easier to consider the similitude by the two cold industrial settings. The crew's pedestrian attitude towards their work sells the reality that the most powerful corporations have expanded to the far reaches of interstellar space. It's a dirty, dangerous, and disaffecting life, but the pay is worth it. Well, sometimes. The separate crews refer to their employers as the company and gripe about financial compensation.
More on that incident in the mine yesterday. It looks like some guy just went wacko.
The company's having the body shipped back, or what's left of it, immediately on today's shuttle.
Since things are pretty loose in space, the death of personnel are acceptable losses. Whether it's Con-Am 27 or the Nostromo, the same conversations are heard among the hired hands.
Oh, yeah, right. I just forgot something, man. Before we dock, I think we ought to discuss the bonus situation.
Right.
Another nudge and a wink is the rocket fuel that's killing workers at Con-Am 27. The powerful narcotic polydichloric euthymol, the supercharged substance that produces euphoria and enables the men to work like horses until their heads explode. Could this be similar to Xenozip in the Alien universe? The timelines of these films are interesting as well. Alien is set in the year 2122, while Outland is set in the year 2144. If you're interested in this subject, I recommend that you check out Alien Theory's in-depth video on the topic. And if you're just a fan of the Alien franchise, then I highly recommend this channel. And the link is below. Number 5. Hey, you need a cab. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. In honor of the late great Donald Sutherland, I want to take a look at possibly his creepiest science fiction classic based on another creepy science fiction classic. The 1978 version scared the living shit out of me when I was a kid. I ran out of the room when that man dog showed up. You see, both classics have a Don Siegel connection, the director of the 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Siegel acts as the cabbie in which Matthew and Elizabeth take refuge. In this troubling scene, the Body Snatchers are gaining control over the remnants of the anti-pod club, but he's a pod person and rats them out.
610 proceeding south to airport, carrying 2 passengers, type H.
The legacy Paranoia is paid homage to by Kevin McCarthy, who played Dr. Miles Bennell from the original movie, sounding the alarm to Matthew and Elizabeth, so try not to shart your pants. Number 4. Blade Runner? Alien franchise? Same universe? That's the spirit! Ridley Scott is quoted as saying that Los Angeles in Blade Runner would easily be the city the Nostromo crew would enjoy while on shore leave. And we all know there's nothing like LA noodles. And I mean, Blade Runner was the first movie Scott directed after Alien, so what's the deal? Ash and the replicants are cut from the same synthetic cloth. Ash was planted on the Nostromo to ensure the capture of the xenomorph and deliver it to the company. Towards the end of Alien, Ash shows how far he will go to complete his mission while expressing his reverence for the monster.
I admire its purity.
I doubt his adoration is programmed, although I can't substantiate this, but it's as though the feeling is inspired and real inside his milky head. The replicants are designed to satiate the needs of humans for dangerous labor and pleasure. Their awakening was prompted by wanting more life, not a death-dealing bug.
Wake up! Time to die.
It's obvious that Batty, Pris, Leon, and Zora have no qualms about liquidating people interfering with their goal. They are respectively the creations of megacorporations, and whether their blood is red or something that pairs well with breakfast cereal, they seem to share a very similar psychological profile. Speaking of replicants and synthetic humans, they both said the same thing. Near the conclusion of Blade Runner, as Batty, in his death throes, pursues Decker, who brains him quite hard in the head, Batty retorts with,
That's the spirit!
and surprise, surprise, in Covenant, Daniel shivs David in the throat, and his response is,
That's the spirit.
Ridley Scott recycled the Environ CTR Purge computer display message in the Nostromo escape shuttle scene, and similarly in the flying police squad cars in Blade Runner. These two displays aren't exact, but they essentially display the same information. Now, this might be a simple matter of Ridley recycling elements from Alien for the sake of convenience, or is it an Easter egg? And I could go on, but the last thread comes from the 1999 Alien DVD extra entitled Nostromo Dossier. In it, we see Dallas's dossier clearly stating that he worked for the Tyrell Corporation. That's quite a coinkydink. Number 3, Death from Above, 2001, A Space Odyssey. This little ditty forever changed science fiction in 1968. For starters, who dedicates the first 20 minutes of a film to the dawn of man? Kubrick, that's who. During those 20 minutes, early humans evolved from a plant-based diet to tenderizing pigs. Thanks, weird monolith. Alpha Monkey Man uses the first weapon to vanquish competitive tribes. And wait, is that a glimpse of his fuzzy battle erection? And finally, the iconic cinematic flick of a femur segueing to a orbital nuclear platform. The montage of satellites at first look like innocent commercial spacecraft. It's the future. Earth's nations must have worked out their primitive shit by now. Yeah, that's cute. If you've seen 2010, the year we made contact, then this makes a lot more sense. Even if the leaders of the USSR and USA are Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick hired engineers to create believable spacecraft. The satellites orbiting Earth, although not obvious, have military decals of various nations. The US Air Force, China's Liberation Army, the German Luftwaffe, and the Egyptian military. Clearly, the Cold War is still orbiting the planet. One last interesting tidbit is how no one knew how planet Earth looked in 1968. That's why Kubrick's depiction of the blue marble looks so washed out. Number 2, the mother of all Covenant alien connections. Whether you loved or loathed Alien Covenant, it stands as the wonkiest prequel to Ridley Scott's classic Alien. Standing these two movies side by side is a jarring comparison of mood, design, and, well, pretty much every other conceivable aspect. Not to mention Kenny Powers cracking the John Denver code when Covenant receives that mysterious radio signal.
That's fucking John Denver. That's Take Me Home Country Roads.
Gotta be kidding.
Oh no, I never kid about John Denver.
Versus the Nostromo crew intercepting an alien transmission.
Good God. Doesn't sound like any radio signal I've heard.
What do you think? Sounds like a British new wave band. Yeah, beauty sound.
With incongruities in mind, one aspect stands out as being somewhat faithful, maybe. The onboard computer of the colonization vessel Covenant monitors every aspect of the ship on its 7-year voyage to Aurigae 6. It's 7 bells and all's well as Walter, an improved synthetic person to David in Prometheus, when things go pear-shaped and Mother warns him of a nearby neutrino burst threatening the ship, thereby marking the crew's descent into hell, not dissimilar to the fate of the Nostromo crew. Mother woke them up from cryo-sleep after detecting an adjacent mysterious transmission. And we know now that it was a warning and not a distress signal, and the company was all in to capitalize. As Walter scrambles to avert danger, he addresses the computer as Mother.
Report to the bridge immediately.
On my way, Mother.
The same Mother 6000 installed on the Nostromo? The Nostromo's mom we grew up with? It's likely, although by looking at the two movies you wouldn't think so, because Covenant got the annoying modern prequel touch, where prior technology is more advanced than the movie that spawned it. And man, I hate when that happens. Number 1, Ripley's clone, Alien, Resurrection. Ellen Ripley is one of a kind. Or is she really? We all know that she sacrificed herself by swan diving into the magma as Weyland-Yutani rushed in too late to collect the xenomorph queen inside her belly. So how the heck was Ripley's DNA collected in order to clone her in Alien Resurrection? Dr. Clements extracted blood samples from Ripley after the escape vessel in between Aliens and Part 3 crash-landed near the penal colony on Fury 161. Blood samples that the Weyland-Yutani goons collected after the dust cleared and Ripley and her alien queen were flambéed. 200 years later, the insane scientists and the United Systems military finally succeed in creating an alien-human hybrid clone in Resurrection. In the film's opening scene, we see the scientists marveling at their successful creation. Ripley 8. As Ripley 8 rapidly grows and learns she is aware of Ripley's past life, the significance of the xenomorph, and how she's been exploited to weaponize the alien species, we see the old Ripley come back to life. Whether she's the real McCoy or an exceptional knockoff, Ripley will always be a fighter and maintain her moral compass. So when she discovers all the grotesque failed attempts of cloning her, she's horrified, euthanizing the botched Ripley 7 with a flamethrower, but the faces represented on the clones, especially during the opening Ripley cloning scene in Resurrection, used childhood photos of Sigourney Weaver to represent her rapid aging. Not to mention the clone monstrosity stored in formaldehyde. It's gross, but this angle partially gives the Ripley character closure. Although a sequel to Resurrection was snuffed out due to poor audience support, leaving no closure for Ripley 8's story going ahead. And that's today's video. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.